All right, everybody. So I'm going to just give you a summary of chapter 8 of the book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. So Frederick begins the chapter talking about his old slave master. His name was Master Anthony, and he dies. So when Master Anthony dies, Frederick had to travel back to something called a valuation. So he wasn't actually living on the plantation with Master Anthony anymore. He had to travel back, and it's called evaluation. It's basically they're going to do an assessment of everything that the slave owner has: animals, slaves, property, anything like this worth anything. And then what they would do is they would divide, like if the slave owner had any like children, they would divide these things up amongst the children. Frederick said that this had a huge impact on him because they had them all standing like in a line, kind of like a garage sale or an auction, basically. Had a huge impact on him. He's standing there in the line with animals, with garden tools, and they're looking at him like a piece of property. Said this had a really, and it's also, the valuation also scared slaves because although slavery was terrible and no matter what the situation was, some slave owners treated their slaves better than others. And for slaves, knowing they're going to be sold or given to another slave owner, it scared them to think that they could get a slave owner that was like cruel or mean and treated them a lot worse than their condition they were already in. So Frederick was sent back to Baltimore after the valuation, sent back to live with a lady named Lucretia. This was the daughter of a slave owner named Master Hugh. Shortly after going back, Lucretia died, and the slave owner died. Okay? He thought he might be set free. He said this gave him a bad taste in his mouth that he actually wasn't set free. His grandmother used to live on the one plantation with him. And his grandmother, he says, basically took care of all the slave children. A lot of the slaves on the plantation were her grandchildren. And not only did she take care of the slaves, she took care of the master's children too. Like she was the mother on the plantation. And when she got old, like elderly, they set her free, but they built her a house in the woods, a cabin. Now, she's elderly now, so she really can't do things for herself. And Frederick felt this gave him a bad taste in his mouth because he felt like they should have did something different from her, like put her in the slave master's home and took care of her for the rest of her life because she took care of the whole plantation. Instead, they put her out in the woods to fend for herself, and she really couldn't do anything for herself. He felt like that was punishment, that was cruel. They built her a home in the woods. These types of things, the valuation, the way they did his grandmother, these started to give Frederick a bad taste in his mouth, and he started to have thoughts about escaping. He started having thoughts about his escape from slavery, even though he wasn't escaped yet. He started watching as he would take trips on boats and stuff like that with the slave owners and different workers for the slave owner. He started watching the routes they would take. He started creating like a mental maps of routes that he would need to take when he decided to escape slavery. So he was already like planning it in his head before he actually escaped. And some of these things that were going on, in his life just started to give him a bad taste. So he decided it's going to be time for me to make a move to get myself out of this situation pretty soon. So that's kind of what chapter 8 was about in the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass.